The Nintendo 64. Released in June of 1996 in Japan and then in America that same year in September, little did we know back then on how much of an impact this console would have on gaming as a whole. It introduced us to a whole new world of gaming on our television screens, as its controller was the first to feature an analog stick that allowed precise movements compared to the NES and Super NES controllers. Our minds were blown when we held the controller for the first time, and it still gives me the 90s goosebumps. The N64 is also well known for its game library, and for good reason. There are so many great titles in there that'll keep you busy for a long time. That's why we are here. I am going to tell you which games I loved playing on this system, whether it was during my childhood or not long before today. Top 10 is not going to cut it for this game right here, so I am going to make it 15. Yeah, you don't mess with the N64 when it comes to top countdowns. Now keep in mind, there may be at least one title that many people enjoyed that won't appear for reasons including I have never played said title or didn't like it enough to make it into this list. Well, enough of that. Let's get started. This is Aelita's Top 15 Nintendo 64 games. Number 15. Pokemon Snap. Now this game came around when Pokemon was in its global phenomenon stage in the late 90s. Playing Pokemon on our Game Boys was amazing enough, but when this game came out, we were excited to take pictures of those badass creatures. You play as Todd, the camera boy that you've seen in the anime, and you go around various environments like the beach or a volcano or even outer space, snapping pictures of the Pokemon around you. The better the shot, the higher the points you get. Whether it was the commoners like Pidgey, Doduo, or to even the rare guys like Mew. I could never get a good shot of Mew. Damn you, Mew! Well, back then, Pokemon Snap was promoted heavily, not only on TV, but you could also find it in hotels across the country. Even though you had to pay a fee for it, you could find like those N64 controllers connected to the hotel TV. Anybody still remember that? And in addition, you can take the shots that you took in the game, and if you really liked them, you could take it to a Blockbuster and get them printed out. Rest in peace, Blockbuster. Good times there. As much as how much I loved playing this game, I put this at number 15 for one primary reason. Whenever I play this game for an extended period of time, I tend to get motion sick. Well, that's what happens when you got a weak stomach, ladies and gentlemen. But other than that, it's still very fun to play. Number 14. Yoshi's Story. What do you get when you put baby Yoshis in a lot of fruit to eat? Well, you got Yoshi's Story. Known as the sequel to Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, the game is a platformer, but at the same time it's more puzzle-oriented compared to the predecessor. When I first played through this game, I at first thought it was way too short, but then when I replayed it, I discovered while you only go through 6 chapters, there's a total of 4 different stages to choose from for each chapter. As you progress in the game though, you need to find 3 hearts scattered throughout the stages in order to have more options for what stage you want to play in the next chapter. Once you clear the 6 chapters, you're up against Bowser himself when he was a baby. No, that's not baby Bowser or Bowser Jr. That is Bowser himself when he was little. Knock down those spikes from the ceiling with your ba-bombs and he's all done. I enjoyed the storybook vibe of this game, which is why it lands on my list at number 14. Number 13.
Mario Party 3!
Mario Party 3. Now for this one, it was a bit hard for me to choose between the 3 Mario Parties because I've loved each and every one of these growing up, but at the same time, thinking back, Mario Party kinda hurts your fingers, and Mario Party 2 was missing some of the features that I really enjoyed in Mario Party 3. Plus, to be honest, I loved the mini games in Mario Party 3 the best. I just found them to be more entertaining compared to the previous 2 games. Also, may I mention how awesome the duel mode was for its time? I wish they brought that back in future Mario Party games. Maybe they will someday. Can keep my hopes up. I've had many good times with Mario Party 3, whether it was enjoying the game with friends or seeing them get all salty when the star gets stolen. Primarily from me, maybe. Anyway, I'm digressing. Mario Party 3 is a very fun game, and that's why it lands on my list at number 13. Number 12. Pokemon Stadium. Battling on our Game Boys wasn't enough for some Pokemon fans. When we found out that there were going to be Pokemon battles in 3D for the first time, we were completely psyched for this. There was the regular Pokemon League, a tournament mode, or even a free battle mode for playing against your friends. Personally, one of my favorite parts about this game is that you could pretty much select any Pokemon you want for your team. As long as they are unlocked, of course. I'm looking at you, Mewtwo. Now that was all fun and all, but probably the one part of the game that I spent the most time on is definitely the minigame mode. My brother and I spent hours playing these minigames when we were kids. And my personal favorite minigame out of all of them is the Clefairy memory game. My friends try to avoid picking the Rattata and Pikachu minigames when I'm playing, because I am very good at button mashing on the controller, and they're like, okay, it's an automatic win for Amanda if this gets chosen. All of this together puts Pokemon Stadium at number 12. Number 11. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. Remember the days when skateboarding was like very popular? Talking like mid-90s, early 2000s? Well, this game right here helped further popularize the sport. If there was any skateboarder to have a video game series of his own, it'd definitely be the legendary Tony Hawk. I mean, I could remember back when he made the first 900. That was amazing. Anyway, onto the main game. For each level in this game, you have to complete 5 objectives to earn tapes to unlock further levels. Now, these objectives could include some type of score, finding a tape in a hidden spot, breaking stuff, doing certain tricks in certain areas, and much more. Just going around the level doing these objectives is fun enough, but what makes the game even better, in my honest opinion, is the soundtrack. There was not one song in this game that played while doing the objectives that I did not like. Plus, the soundtrack for this game helped increase sales for most of the songs featured here. And if there was any song that I would play the most while I was playing this, it would definitely be the song Superman. Now, I did not physically own this game while I was growing up, but this was definitely the game that I rented the most from Blockbuster, so regardless of owning it or not, I still got a good experience out of all those plays. Thanks to all the fun I've had with this game growing up, this game has skated its way to number 11 on my list. Number 10. Gex, Enter the Gecko. Known as the sequel to the 1994 game Gex, Gex Enter the Gecko involves the TV-obsessed gecko named Gex, who travels to the media dimension to help save television from the evil Rez. What you have to do in this game is primarily travel to different worlds, or channels if you call them, complete certain objectives to earn red remotes, and once you earn enough red remotes you can face a mini-boss, and once you beat that mini-boss, you can unlock another area in the hub world to access more stages. And once you have all of the red remotes, you can finally face off that evil Rez. This game is a pretty fun platformer, but there was at least one thing about this game that I did not like primarily, or else it would have been higher on the list. For one thing, the camera in this game is not really the best compared to most 3D platformers I've played, but at the same time, there's a couple of positives to this game. For instance, soundtrack is pretty good. The graphics are nice and colorful for the time. Not to mention all those quotes from various TV shows and movies that you hear Gex saying every now and then.
Beat the Matterhorn, what are you gonna do?
Plus, at first this may seem like an easy game to beat, but as you progress into the game, it actually gets pretty difficult, especially those rocket channel levels. Ugh. So many bad times with those levels. Putting this all together has helped Gex Enter the Gecko tune in to the number 10 spot on my list. Number 9. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Okay, for this entry, I'll be honest, I almost didn't put it into this list because, for me personally, I'm not too fond of mature content being in video games like this. However, after hearing a lot of good reviews about this game, and plus, it was made during the Nintendo Rare era, so who could go wrong with that, I decided to give this game a try, and it was actually a lot of fun. The gameplay is good, the voices are great, and who could forget about this moment in the game?
I I am the great mighty Pooh.
I felt kind of bad for this game mainly because it didn't sell as many copies as it intended to do. But the main reason for that was because it was released near the end of the N64 era. Nowadays, if you want to try and find a new copy of this game, it's going to cost you at least $80 to a couple $100. Good luck with that! Nevertheless, this game has become a cult classic no matter how many copies it's sold, and it's on my list at number 9. Number 8. Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards. Fun fact, did you know that this game is the only Kirby game on the N64 that doesn't include other Nintendo characters? Kind of a bummer if you think about it, but for me it didn't matter. As long as there was one Kirby game on a Nintendo system, I'm pretty much sold. I had so many great memories of this game, such as seeing Kirby in 3D on my TV for the first time. Plus, who could forget about those awesome combo moves you could get in this game? In addition, this game may look easy, but for some crystal shards you have to collect, it actually takes some thinking. There was this one shard in one of the sea levels that I had absolutely no idea how to get, and it took me years to finally figure it out. And there's one more thing about this game that made it end up on my list. It has one of my favorite tracks in the whole entire Kirby series. Before we move on to the next one, let's take a listen. Number 7. 007 GoldenEye. What game do we think of when you put the words classic and FPS together? A great majority of classic gamers like myself would definitely say GoldenEye. Normally when it comes to making video games out of movies, they don't tend to end up very well. However, this game was an exception. The single player in this game is pretty good, but what this game is most memorable for is for its very fun multiplayer mode. Now, growing up, I actually didn't own this game, but one of my cousins did. So whenever we would go over to my uncle's house, we would spend so many hours playing this game, and we never got bored of it. It was just that fun. If you think about it, this game, along with another one from the past, is pretty much the reason why FPS games are popular in the first place this day. GoldenEye, from the movie screen to our gaming systems to our hearts, which is why it lands on my list at number 7. Number 6. Paper Mario. Oh god, the memories I had with this game are endless. At the time when this game came out, it was like a completely new experience. Before I started playing this game for the first time, I thought it was going to be a little weird to see on my screen. But then after a couple minutes of playing it, I was completely engrossed in the game. The story is great, the battle modes are awesome, not to mention I'm a sucker when it comes to exploring in video games. To me, this is also one of those games that you want to just sit back, take your time playing through it, because there's so much to go through to get to the end. I remember the first time I defeated Bowser in the final battle, and I couldn't help but tear up a little because I felt like I've accomplished something great. No matter how many times I come back to play this game, it never gets old, and it's going to be like that for a long time for me, which is why this paper-tastic adventure lands on my list at number 6. Number 5.
Welcome to Mario Kart!
Ah, yes. You're not a true N64 player unless you've played this game. Mario Kart 64 was one of the very first games I ever played on my N64. And boy, did a lot of memories come with this game. No matter how many times you race on the tracks here, it always feels completely new, because you never know what's going to happen during the race. From bananas, to red shells, green shells, lightning, star power, and of course, the dreaded spiny shell. I actually have one memorable moment of when I completely screwed up using a spiny shell during a time that me and 2 other players needed it the most, and it was during a tournament at my college. Here, take a look.
So far ahead. No, we needed that.
Yep, I completely screwed up there. But that's okay. Mario Kart 64, being the first N64 game I've ever played, will always remain special to my heart. which is why it lands on my list at number 5. But wait, what could be higher than Mario Kart 64? Well, I'll show you. Number 4.
Diddy Kong Racing! Yeah! Fresh start!
Okay, yes. Before a lot of you freak out, I am a part of the group that likes Diddy Kong Racing more than Mario Kart 64. Why? Well, there's a couple reasons why, actually. For one thing, Diddy Kong Racing has a story mode. Plus, I feel like there's more you can do in this game compared to Mario Kart. Because in Mario Kart, almost everything is given to you from the start, while in Diddy Kong you gotta work your way through it. In addition, I am a huge fan of this game's soundtrack. David Wise, you are one of my favorite game composers, man. Another notable difference between Diddy Kong and Mario Kart is that in Diddy Kong Racing, you can drive 3 different types of vehicles, while in Mario Kart you're only stuck with one. So many fun memories were made with this game growing up, which is why it lands on my list at number 4. Number 3. Super Smash Bros. Yep, this is the one that started it all. I remember when this game first came out, me and my neighbors, we were going crazy about how much fun this game was. Because if you think about it, I don't think we've ever seen a video game like this, where so many characters from the same company come together to compete for the glory. In addition, it's probably thanks to this game that the Earthbound series got more popular in the United States, because back then, I had no idea who Ness was. Pretty much any character that appears in any Smash Bros. Game is guaranteed more exposure to the gaming community. The controls for this game, I admit, may be a little compared to other Smash games in the series. However, without this game, we probably would not have Melee and all the other Smash games in the series. So you gotta give this game credit for that. Is it still fun to play? Yes, even if the controls are a little bit funky. Also, I wish they would bring back that Pokemon stage into later games. I had so many hilarious moments on this stage. Note to self, do not put a motion sensor bomb on one of the floating platforms, cause if Porygon comes out to knock you into it, then you're in for a hilarious time. No matter how many times you play this game, it never gets old, which is why this game has smashed its way to number 3 on my list. Number 2.
It's me, Mario! Hello!
If there was any game that helped revolutionize 3D gaming on a whole, it is definitely this game right here. When Super Mario 64 was released, it became an instant hit for the system. Many critics praising the game for its camera system and showing what the analog stick on the N64 controller can really do. I can still remember back then when the creators of Mario were not sure that he could work in 3D. Boy, were they wrong. From running around, triple jumps, flying, riding on Koopa shells, wall kicks, and of course, that long jump. No matter how many times I play this game, it never gets old. Every time I collect all 120 stars, I'm thinking, that was fun, let's do it again! And the cycle goes on and on. It's no surprise that Super Mario 64 is considered one of the greatest games of all time. I mean, think about it. This game, along with a couple others, got featured in a museum. You know a game is good when it gets featured in a museum. I love this game to death, but there's just one more entry on the list that tops this game, putting this at number 2.
Here we go!
And the number 1 favorite N64 game I've played growing up is... Okay, I'll be completely honest. I couldn't decide between these two games. They're both so much fun to play, I just couldn't rank one above the other. So with making my own rules from my own list, I decided to put them together as number 1. There is no doubt about it. Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie are without a doubt my most favorite games to play on the N64. I've spent so many hours playing both of these games growing up and even to this day. No matter how many times I play both of these games, I never get tired of it. They're just that good. The graphics for both games are some of the best I've seen on the system. All of the well-designed levels in both of these just make you want to keep on exploring. And let's not forget about the awesome music that comes in both games. Grant Kirkhope, you are a musical god, I swear. And technically, Banjo-Tooie was the first game in the series that I owned before I bought Banjo-Kazooie. The only problem I have with my copy of Banjo-Tooie is that something went wrong with the cartridge, and it can no longer have any save files saved, which is a real bummer, because I ended up losing a perfect 100% game. But that's okay. It gives me an excuse to see how far I can get in one playthrough. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Banjo-Kazooie and its sequel, Banjo-Tooie. Two perfect games for the N64, and if you have never played these games, I highly recommend you play these. They're so good. And if I wasn't telling the truth, they would not be here on my list at number 1. Thank you so much for watching my top 15 N64 games. If you liked the video, click on that like button below to let me know. If you'd like to see another top list in the future, leave a comment down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Toodles!